The grill is shot. The chairs are held together by optimism. And what happened to the rug? Sounds like your outdoor setup is not ready for patio season. Fix it all with Wayfair. Shop Wayfair for grills, rugs, furniture, and more. With 20 million 5-star reviews, room of choice delivery, and expert setup on qualifying orders, it's never been easier to do more for less. Get 10% off your first eligible purchase. Hurry to wayfair.com or download the app now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And today I'm excited to bring you a brand new interview episode. My guest today is LA-based entrepreneur Matthew Gallagher. As the founder and CEO of Watch Gang, Matthew oversees the day-to-day business operations of the world's largest watch club, which led the business to $300 million in sales. But Matthew is not just focused on business growth and financial success. His childhood in poverty also made him passionate about helping others. So this sounds like a super interesting story that I would love to hear more about. So welcome, Matthew, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Matthew, if it's okay with you, I would love to learn more about your childhood experiences and how they contrast with the way that you live today. So can you maybe just paint a picture for us of what it was like for you to grow up the way that you did?
Yes, sure. It's very different than how I live today. So we grew up very, very poor in the Midwest of the United States and in the South. So you could call us hillbillies. That's what we would be called by our friends around America. I don't know do you know what a hillbilly is? Have you heard of that?
I heard that expression. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's basically like we lived in trailer parks. Do you have trailer parks in Germany?
Don't think we do.
Right. So it's like a little box made out of metal, and it has wheels on it. So
yeah, sure. Well, we have them for vacations.
Yeah. We have those too. RVs. So it's basically like living one of those. And so we were homeless at one point when I was about 5 for probably 6 weeks. And then we bounced around a lot. It was a kind of a chaotic childhood, and I've been told that I recreate that chaos in my adult life, which is very interesting because I kind of thrive there, though. That's kind of like how I like to live. We're all wired differently. We all, I think we tend to recreate things that feel comfortable for us. And so for me, because of how I grew up, I have a hard time relaxing and not working. I have a hard time. Like if I go on vacation, for instance, I'm ready to leave after 2 or 3 days and just see something new. If I have a 10-day trip to Europe, I can't just go to Mykonos for 10 days. I have to go for 2 days and then go to Italy for 2 days and then get on a train and go somewhere else because sitting still feels terrible for me. So
I totally get that. I'm the same way.
Just one of the things that, Are you?
Yeah, I am. But I also understand how your experiences shape your beliefs and what feels comfortable to you. So it's not really about feeling comfortable. It's more about what's familiar. And that is always the thing that you tend to fall back to. So our experiences just shape our beliefs and also the filters through which we see the world. So if you think back, what would you say are some beliefs maybe about money and success that have been influenced by those early experiences?
Well, when I I didn't know that we were poor until I had some perspective. So I think that, like as a kid, you don't really know how the world works. You don't see through the eyes of anyone else other than what you've experienced. So for me, we were always this way, and I just assumed everybody was this way. And I remember when I started to realize that we were pretty poor, when I would go to like maybe a friend's house, and it was just so different. They have a house with a room, and their parents like seem to like each other, and that's not what I grew up in. So I started seeing what normal relationships look like, what maybe an average household looks like, and then I had my father's brother was pretty well off in the area that we lived in. He made probably like 200 grand a year, and at that time, and in Ohio, that was a lot. He was like, upper 1% of earners. And for me, in my eyes, he was like this businessman, successful guy. That's where I pointed my goals. I was like, this is a guy who I can aspire to be like. And it's the one person sort of in my circle that I see that he's doing it. He's succeeding. And so that's sort of where I aimed my goals. I'm going to be like my Uncle Pat. And so I viewed success as having freedom to travel and having money to sort of do what you wanted to do. And what I always told myself was that I wanted to have kids, and I wanted them to have all the things that I didn't have. It's like the classic coming from nothing story where you just want to, you want your kids to avoid the hardships that you did. The interesting thing, though, I have 2 kids. The interesting thing is that I have to be very cognizant about not creating soft, entitled little brats, because I mean, if you think about it, like one of the reasons I'm so ambitious and I work hard and I hustle is because of my background. So in a way, I value the hardships I went through because it set me up to work this way. And so with my kids, it's very easy to overdo it, want to give them everything, and then you're turning them into people that society is not going to value. So I am doing my best to balance what I give them and how I teach them. So I'm setting them up for a life of they want to work hard, but they didn't have to necessarily struggle in the ways that I did. I think there's a way to kind of mold kids in that fashion where they can get the good things about what I went through without having to go through those experiences.
Yeah, that's definitely great to hear that you pay attention to those things, because as you said, it's easy to overcompensate and then create like the opposite of what you want to achieve. Because if they don't value the things in their lives, it's going to be difficult for them as well, just in a different way.
That's right.
Now that you have built this hugely successful business and that you have escaped poverty, what does a typical day look like for you?
So it's quite different than it was 2 years ago prior to the coronavirus. We had a very nice office. Everybody was coming into work. It was like, for me, the ideal version of a startup. It was this beautiful building that I picked. It took me 6 months to find this spot. And I had all my team there, and it was wonderful. We go every day, have stand-up meetings, all the departments do their thing. And our lease ended during the lockdown. And so I wasn't sure how long that was going to last. The last day of work for us, I think I closed the office in early March of 2020, prior to it being mandated, just out of caution. So I kind of understood this is where things were going, and everybody was unsure about, the state of affairs. So I was like, look, everybody work from home. We'll figure this out. I assumed we'd be back in the office in a couple of weeks. So 2 months later, lockdown's still in effect. My lease is ending. We had a very expensive office, and I had to make the decision to let that lease go rather than re-sign and risk having it for another, year. Without even being able to use it. So in the midst of the lockdown, we had to empty the office and move into a temporary space where our stuff could exist. And we were also going through some hardships where we ship our own inventory now, but back then we had a 3PL, and that 3PL was struggling to keep up, to be able to keep people in the office to ship. And so I had to make a decision to bring fulfillment in-house during the first few months of this pandemic. So we found a temporary warehouse in the city that our office was in, set that up, and started fulfilling our own orders. And I know this is a long-winded preface to answer your question, but that is sort of how we were then. Today, my day-to-day is very different in that 80% of our team is still remote. And I think that that's probably going to just keep existing like that. I think that COVID definitely fast forwarded the ability to work remotely by a decade. And now I would hire somebody overseas just as quickly as I would hire them in person now, because I'm not going to see them anyway. I don't go to the office more than maybe once every couple of weeks, because there's just no need for it, because we don't have a team there that's going to meet up and have the benefit of an in-person meeting. So most of my meetings now are over the phone or via Zoom. And my day-to-day is essentially going through notes from meetings and having more meetings. And that's kind of my life now. It's like keeping the ship on the right course or weathering a storm when it comes through and trying to keep us on track. I would like to spend more time innovating and coming up with new ideas. So I try to dedicate some hours per week to new business ideas and sort of like research and development, things like that. But 80% of my time is probably meetings and digesting meetings that I already had.
Right. Yeah, it's so important that you dedicate some time to doing something that's really important to you and something that keeps you creative and flexible, just to train your flexibility and creativity muscles, because those need a workout as well.
That's right.
And I read that you created Watch Gang as a homage to your dad. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Would you like to share that story with our listeners today?
Sure. So as I said, there's a facet to this story that I don't really share, but I'm happy to talk about it. Because we grew up very poor, that colors the story in a way that might confuse people, because the story of Watch Gang is that I got my dad's watch when he passed away, and that inspired me to create the company. But a lot of people would be like, well, how poor were you if your dad could leave you a watch, right? So the full picture to this story is that when I started earning a good living and making money, I bought my dad a Rolex for Christmas in 2014. And in 2016, when he died, he pawned the Rolex because my dad still never really made it out. Like, I was just starting to make money and I was helping. And I actually bought a house in Los Angeles with a guest house for my dad to move in with me. And the day that I got my keys is the day that my brother found him and he had passed. And so it's just this kind of very odd timing of everything. And when we go, I flew back to Ohio to sort his affairs, and his watch that I had gifted him, he had pawned. So I had to get it out of a pawn shop. So that watch that I got back was originally, I gave it to him when I started making money. I got it back. So this whole thing is like this very odd circle that this watch had taken, right? This journey that it had gone on. And so the story behind it was very impactful for me, sort of what it represents and all of that. And at the time I was running an ad agency, and I think maybe 3 or 4 months after my dad passed, I had just, I had been wearing his watch, and I was feeling unfulfilled by just doing marketing for other people's companies. And I had been wanting to have my own brand and my own company that, felt a bit more fulfilling. And I just had this idea about getting into the watch space, and I started doing research, and it just kind of started from there.
Right. This is such a beautiful story, and it's such a great way of keeping the memory and the connection with your dad alive. What kind of relationship did the two of you have? Can you maybe share one of your favorite memories with him?
Sure. Let's see. Well, my dad was a very unique guy. He was uneducated, but extremely funny and clever. I get all of my charm from my dad.
Oh.
And so he basically raised three kids alone. My mom and dad split up when I was 7, and we lived with my father, which is very rare, especially in the United States. I don't know how it is around the world, but generally that's not the way things go. The nurturer tends to be the mom, and so for me, it was my dad. And so I have a lot of very good memories with my dad. He was a very loving guy. He had his things like everybody. We had our conflicts, but I would say one of my favorite memories with him was going to Disney World when I was a little kid. He took me and I have a twin sister and a little brother. We all went to Disney World with my uncle, my dad's brother, and I have photos of that still. And it's something that I remember very fondly.
No, that must have been so special, especially because you were so poor. So it must have been it must have cost a fortune to get you there.
Yeah, my uncle, he treated us to that. So
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been a great exception to the rule.
It was, yeah.
So how did you come up with the concept for Watch Gang, and why did you choose a subscription model? I mean, for those who don't know Watch Gang yet, maybe you can just describe what it is and how it works.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a membership where people can sign up for free and just kind of be in our community and see the offers that we have. We have a store where people can buy from us. Members have access to that. And as part of the membership, you can sign up for a shipping model, basically, where you receive a watch on terms that you choose, monthly, quarterly, once a year, however you kind of want. And we go partner with brands from all over the world, and their watches get shipped to our customers. So we'll make purchases based on data. We understand that most of the guys that sign up with us, let's say a sport model diving watch, stainless steel. So we will source watches, store them, and ship them to our customers on the schedule that they've signed up for. So, and they keep the watch. So one of the things that I had to really, one of the points I had to drive home when I started the company was that you keep the watches. A lot of people thought it's oh, it's Netflix for watches. I have it for a month and I return it. And we could have done that, but in my mind, it was far more valuable for a customer to receive something and be able to build a collection. And so really what our company tries to do is educate customers on on watches in general. Why would you wear this watch to a wedding and not this one? Why would you wear this watch to a beach? Why not wear an Apple Watch to everything? Well, I have an opinion about that. And so I want my customers to know what I believe. And then experience, most people don't know even what an automatic watch is versus a quartz watch, whereas one uses a battery and one uses the motion on, just from walking to wind the spring that powers the movement. And so I like to educate people on that, and then ship them watches that I believe that they will like. And that's sort of the business model. And so the way that I got the idea was I knew that I wanted to do something in the watch space. It started from me sitting in front of my computer on Namecheap, searching names. That's how I generally start any business idea, is the domain name available? Mm-hmm. So I remember typing in watchclub.com, watchnerds.com, whatever. And I was watchgang.com, and it's available. And then I'm okay, .org, .net, .us, .de, all of these are available. So then I buy them all. I'm this is a good enough name. It has, it sounds good. It has a brand, kind of a, ring to it. So I started from that, and I'm what are we doing? I'm going to curate watches for people. Okay. I want, I'm doing a lot of research on the space that I'm in watches. And I see that there was one company doing this, but in a way that I didn't think was very good. I'm I could definitely do this better. And so I introduced this model where I'm going to have one-on-one interactions with my customers. I'm going to do live videos. This is during a time when this was not normal. There's live shopping and Instagram live and all this stuff. Back in 2016, I was going live, and I had to set up a system where I had 5 cell phones broadcasting the video feed to each channel, because this was not a normal thing to be doing. And so I would do giveaways, and I wanted it to be like the most fun ever. I was like, nobody needs a watch. Nobody needs 12 watches. At least I can make this fun. It can feel like a surprise and a community. And so that was the goal. And the Rolex giveaway came from me having my dad's Rolex. And so that was like sort of my nod to my old man, that I'll give away a Rolex every week in the hopes that somebody will receive it and pass it down to their son. And it will be, something that they have a story associated with. So it got started that way. And this was, for me, the first time that I was getting sales where I didn't really have to try very hard. Generally in the past, if I started a business, I have to sell it. I've got to go advertise and buy ads or make phone calls, depending on the business model. With this model, I paid somebody online for a logo. I put up the Instagram account, found cool images. I remember I went to my friend's house. I bought like 30, 40 watches, and I put them all in a big circle with Post-it notes. And then I took a survey of all my friends. And I'm like, I want you to rank these watches and what you think is the most valuable, what's the coolest, what feels like the one that you'd like the most. And I went through all this paperwork, and I documented that process. And I posted this on the Instagram account. And I got a sale without ever spending a penny in advertising dollars. And
it's amazing.
I was like, okay, there might be something here. And then I put, $25 a day on an ad budget, and I was getting sales, and I didn't even have watches to sell these people yet. It was just a concept. So in my mind, if I was going to spend, let's say that I would dedicate like $500 to ads, and if I don't get any sales, this is a dumb idea, and I'll move on to something else. Well, instead of that happening, I actually got a bunch of sales. And so I was like, okay, I have to go find watches now. So I had to kill the ads, and I had to go and find watches for these people. And I literally just bought watches from Amazon, and I was picking stuff that I thought they would like, shipped it to my customers. And then I ran a survey afterwards asking, hey, what did you think? What could I have done better? And the sort of resounding feedback that I got was, this was fun, but you sent me a watch that I found on Amazon for $25, and I gave you $29. And in my mind, I was like, well, duh, like I need a profit, it's a service model. Like, I'm curated it for you. That's my $5 fee. But I realized at that point that that wasn't good enough. And my customers needed to have something that was worth more than what they were paying for it, right? Because at the end of the day, if you get this thing for $30 and then you Google it and it's worth 25, you're gonna feel like you were fooled. So that's where the whole business changed. And I realized what I could do was I could reach out to actual watch brands that would sell me their watches for less than the retail. I could sell them to my customers for the subscription fee. I could make money. They could get a deal. Everybody wins. And that was sort of like light bulb moment. That's what worked. And the very first company I worked with was a brand out of New York called So & Co. And these were watches selling everywhere for like $90. I got them for $15, and my customers paid me $30 for them. So I actually, in month 2, I was able to ship out like a couple thousand watches. I made a profit. My customers were happy. It was just like, here it is. This is the business model.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for walking us through your entire process, from the idea to validating the concept and testing the concept, and then improving based on feedback, which is amazing.
I think it's really important. In the beginning, I did everything for the company: customer service, sales, marketing, design, coding, all of it. And so it's so important that if you have the abilities as a founder, every facet of the business. You get your hands as dirty as possible.
True. Now, I have to ask this. As someone who collects watches, how would you define your relationship with time? And what I mean by that is, how often do you ponder the finiteness of human life, for instance? And how does that impact the way that you actually live your life?
It's a very deep question.
I know.
Okay. Well, I tend to, as we get older, it feels like time speeds up almost. right? Like when you're young, time is standing still and you can't grow up fast enough. And then I blinked and now I'm 37 and I have 2 kids, and I'm going to do that again. And then I'll be 47. And so this, as you get older as well, you tend to lose people that are close to you. And I've lost several people that are very close to me, which puts time and life into a lot of like different perspective for me. And I'm a person who tends to get a bit nihilistic occasionally. For me, I am driven by the need to create, to succeed in business, and to be a really good father. So because I have kids, I'm sort of grounded to the earth and with a purpose greater than myself. That doesn't work for everybody. Some people don't want kids. Some people aren't driven by the need to make sure their kids have great lives. For me, I always knew from the time I was a kid, I want to be a really good dad and I want to be a successful person, however you define that. For me, I define that as I'm not hurting anybody and I'm making a lot of money. So, and now that I'm older and I see how the world works a bit, I would like to help people eventually. I would like to use my success for sort of philanthropic purposes eventually. I do what I can now, but you can always do more, and that's where I want to aim my sights later in life. So, I view time. What I try to do in relation to time is that at the end of every day, when I'm laying in bed going to sleep, a lot of times I wonder, like, where the hell did the day go? Right? So fast. Day is gone, and then the week is gone, and then all of a sudden it's 2 years past COVID and you're almost in 2023, and like it just, everything speeds by. So I try to slow down every day at some point, at least for a few minutes, and take in whatever I'm surrounded by, whether I'm enjoying a moment of relaxation, like at a beach, if I'm on vacation or something, or if I'm with my kids, not on my phone, not working, taking time to be very present, and also sort of registering that moment mentally. Like, hey, you're choosing this moment to slow down. And when you are in bed later tonight and you're wondering where the day went, value the fact that you slowed down for a minute and you sort of, you were very present in that moment and enjoying what you had. And you kind of get to slow time down for a second.
Yes, I love what you said there. And that mindfulness and being present in the moment is so important. And I can say that pondering your own mortality is something that can definitely change your perspective, because most people, as you said, they try to not think about their death. But I'm a cancer survivor, so I can say that facing those thoughts about your own death can really change the way that you live your life. And I mean, there are so many high achievers out there who build those incredible businesses or do other amazing things. Yet they're absolutely miserable because they focus on things that don't make them happy in the long run, or that aren't really important to them. And if they stopped hustling 24/7 and just took a moment to think about questions like, if I only had one more year to live, would I still be doing the same things? Or would I still be making the same decisions? And then honestly answering those questions could really change the way they live their lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I think a lot about the fact that, I grew up poor, but when my dad died, I never thought like, oh, I wish we had more money. No, I wish I had more time with my dad, right? I wish that we had spent more time together. I wish we lived closer. I wish all these things completely unrelated. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes because I work so hard to give my kids a life that I didn't have. I remind myself sometimes that they're not going to care. When I'm gone, they're not going to be like, oh, I wish dad worked harder. I wish he made more money for us. No, they're going to wish they had more time with me. So that's a constant reminder for me.
Yeah. So what is it that makes you feel most happy and fulfilled? What are you doing?
Look, I hate saying this because of what we just said, but I feel very fulfilled by succeeding in business. Unfortunately, that does fulfill me. But like I said, having kids is another thing that like it definitely is my main motivator in providing and having a good life with them. I'm a single dad, so like we just went to Hawaii, and so for me to go away for 3 days, 3 days is not very much, but I was telling you before the interview started that I'm sort of chaotic and I have a hard time relaxing for more than a day or two. So we went to Hawaii for 3 days, and I brought my laptop, but I didn't open it. And for me, that was like, hey, good job. You didn't really, like, you worked a bit on your phone, did not open your laptop while you were gone in Hawaii with your kids for 3 days on a weekend. So, but we had a great time. And I remember we did something that my son, who is, he's 7, he said to me, I'm going to remember this when I'm 60. Oh, he said that to me. And I was like, okay, this was a good decision.
Yeah, I think it's really about finding that balance. It's okay to be fulfilled with your work. I mean, it's great if you find something like that, but then it's not the only thing that matters in your life, and just being aware of that, and then trying to create your life in a conscious way that reflects your priorities and values. I think that's basically what it boils down to, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. So last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to connect with you?
I have a very cool Instagram name. It's Mattomic. It's MATTOMIC on Instagram.
Perfect. Awesome, Matthew. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Take care and talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.